Northwestern seems to be on kind of a surge when everybody thought they were. What have you seen out of them in their improved play the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think Demps is playing really well. I mean, he's made a difference, I think. It changes the dynamic of their team, gives them another driver, another scorer, another guy that can go get his own shot, makes him quicker. I think Hearn has really stepped his game up. I've been really impressed with him. I think Ola, they're using him more. He's doing more things. He's coming around. You know, he's young. Early in the year, he was finding his way. Now he's been through it. He's playing a lot better. So I think, you know, to a man, I think Swapshire, you know, it takes a little bit of time to learn this offense. And as the season went on, now he's got it. You know, he's really playing well. So, I mean, they've got a good team. I mean, they make threes, they make plays, they guard you. And it's always a tough game when you play them.
You guys held them to 15 points in the first half last time. Did you pull some of that tape to show the guys this week what they did well?
Yeah, I mean, we played them. That's about as well as we've played defensively against anybody. So we're going to need another effort like that.
Do you have to say anything to the team to remind them, hey, it's not going to be as, I wouldn't say easy, but
I would, you know, I mean, we're gonna tell them what they need to do. You know, I wouldn't think that we'd have to say anything special. You know, they're going to watch and they're going to look at, you know, how they played against Purdue, for example. I mean, they played as well against them as any team I've seen all year long in that game. And they've played well against a lot of other people. I mean, they beat Baylor on the road. So I mean, this is a team that can score, and they've got enough experience and they've got enough weapons to beat anybody in our league.
Coach, Devin has struggled the last couple of games. Have you thought about making any changes? Or
No.
Your team's been through a tough road trip. Where do you think they are mentally after those two games? You know, and is this a test of their mental toughness as you go into the next game coming up?
You know what, Rick? I think they're probably about where you'd think they'd be. You know, they know that we're playing well. They know that we're playing with, I think, great competitive instincts. We're making a lot of really good plays. We're making some mistakes. We're not executing at times. We've got different people stepping up, and you know, we're not shooting the ball that well. You know, so that's a problem. You know, you're going to be in. You know, if you battle, you can stay in games when you're not shooting it well. Because if you're not shooting it well, and you soften up, then you're going to get drilled. So I mean, they're showing a lot of fight in that respect, and then now we just have to be able to play better, you know, in the last couple minutes, you know, because, you know, I mean, say what you want. I mean, the shot that goes in, I mean, hits the rim 3 times, and the shot that Austin Hollins hit, I mean, at some point you got to give the other team some credit. I mean, they're making some plays. We're in their face, and we got to give that team credit.
Has this team made progress in the mental toughness area?
No question.
Since the Michigan game?
No question. You know, and even in that game, you know, we were not tough at the end with our execution, but it's a 40-minute game. There's a reason why we were up 3 with a minute to go. There's a reason why we were tied, you know, with 40 seconds to go. You know, we're still right there against, you know, one of the top 10 teams in the country. So we're not that far.
Going back to Devin, after the Minnesota game, you talked about how you felt he was being tentative.
I didn't think he was tentative at all against Wisconsin. He's usually not tentative. I mean, he was a little bit tentative, I thought, against Minnesota, but he was not tentative against Wisconsin at all.
What about during practices throughout the weekend?
No, he's always good there.
This team has gotten up off the mat time after time after time. Even the other night, tough environment, you're down 11 in the first half, just keep putting it together. But how often can you guys keep doing that and not get that carrot at the end of the game?
I don't know. We just got to keep fighting. You know, go to the next game and try to beat that team. You know, you can't look 5 games down the road and say, boy, I hope something good happens. You got to make something good happen on Saturday.
In the last few minutes of those games, have you noticed your players kind of pressing a little bit?
No. Not at all. When Marble made the drive against Purdue, he'd make that shot 8 times out of 10 typically. He made the same drive in overtime. We were down 2, and he missed it. He normally would make it. Aaron White misses 2 free throws. We're down 2. And what happened before? The reason he got the 2 free throws is because we ran transition to perfection and got right to the rim, and we had a chance to score right on top of them, which is exactly what you want your team to. That's a team thing. He just happened to miss 2 free throws. I mean, you go game by game. Oglesby, he's going to make that shot most of the time. Executed that play to perfection. The shot was halfway down. The reason I was upset in the Michigan State game was we didn't execute like I just described and lost. That's when you get upset, and that's when you get disappointed. As a staff, as a team, as an individual. And nobody felt worse than Mike when he turned the ball over in that situation. But he hasn't done that since then. He made a turnover the other night, but that was a different kind of play. He thought Eric was going to cut to the basket when he drove it and drew the defense. Eric stepped back. He thought Eric was going to step up. That's different than the mistake he made in the Michigan State game.
Coach, against Minnesota and against Wisconsin, finishing the game has definitely been a thing. Is it more execution, or is the youth starting to show late in games a little bit?
No, the youth's not a problem. I think what you're doing is you're on the road playing against 2 really good teams.
How do you impart perspective to a group of 18 to 22-year-olds who, lately it seems, it just seems like they cannot catch a break?
Yeah. I think that's a good point. It seems like the ball has not bounced our way a couple times, and I will say this. I think they have really good perspective. I've been impressed with how they've approached practice, the things they've said to one another, the things they've said to us, the things they've said to you guys. And sometimes you get the feeling they're just saying what they're supposed to say. But I really think that they believe in themselves and they believe in what we're capable of doing, and they're remaining confident and realize just how close we are. And obviously, we want to get beyond close, but in many ways, getting close against really good teams, a number of which we're on the road, is a clear step in the right direction, and hopefully we can get over the hump.
Some coaches talk a lot about season-ending goals, even through this tough stretch, like we can still make the tournament, we still got our goals in front of us. Do you talk much about that? Try to keep them narrow?
Yeah, it's the next game.
Where, as a coach, have you kind of drawn the line between, finding things that could make the difference one way or the other, and then just as being touched on before, luck and just not having that luck go your way in these last few games in particular?
Yeah, I try not to really get into the luck part of it. I just was kind of agreeing with, it does seem like the ball has bounced funny a couple times, and I think typically those things even out over time. You would hope that they would have evened out a little bit sooner in this case. So then you go back and say, well, maybe it's not just that. Maybe it's something we're not doing. And, there's no question that we're breaking down every aspect of every situation, late game, who's on the floor, what could we have run differently, what options did we have in that situation. Go back and show the kids a tape. Okay, what options were there that you didn't see that maybe would have made a difference? And your only hope is, especially with when we're playing so many young guys, that if they're in that situation again, they'll remember and see it and maybe make a better play.
Do you think you attacked their 1-3-1 over there as good as you've attacked it in the 3 years you've been here?
Yeah. Well, consistently. We've attacked it really well at times. And I think that's what a lot of teams do. They attack it well at times, and then they struggle for 3, 4, 5 possessions. And sometimes that's all they need. You look at the Minnesota game, for example. Minnesota really struggled against it, but they had some great possessions against it, phenomenal possessions. But, they're getting passes deflected, and they were getting tentative, and they were standing around, and they kind of got bunched up. And, I'm fairly certain how their practices went. They prepared to do what they did when they did it well. I remember last year here, we were really playing well against them. They go to the 1-3-1. We turned it over early, the first time we scored, but then we turned it over a couple times and really changed the complexion of that game. And then we went through it pretty easily after that. But it's kind of like the damage was already done, and everybody, we didn't play well against it. Well, we did for that little stretch of time. We didn't play well, and I think that's what has made it an effective defense for them.
I think last year, as you mentioned, I think you were up by 14 or something at some point in the first half, then
Right.
turned it over like 8 times out of a 15 possession period.
And sometimes it's not even the turnovers. It's you get a decent shot. It's not a great shot. You don't make it, so you turn it over. Then you don't make it. You don't get a second, and then you come down and you make a bunch of passes and you miss again, or a ball gets deflected. They get a run out. That's really it's exactly what happened in Minnesota. Minnesota was up 7. And they went down 7 or 8, and they missed a ton of free throws. Northwestern, it would have been worse.
Looking at a guy like Eric, he had all the injuries through his career, and then this year he seems like he's playing maybe the most consistent basketball of his career. And I guess what has he been able to bring to the team this year on the floor?
Well, exactly what I hoped he would. As a captain, as a senior, multiple position player, knows where to line up in every situation. Can guard a big guy, can guard a small one, and what a lot of guys try to do in that situation is more than they're supposed to do. He does exactly what he's supposed to do. He drives it when we need him to. He scores in transition. He'll shoot a 3 occasionally. He's not hunting shots. He's making plays for his teammates. He got 2 huge offensive rebounds for us the other night, and when we desperately needed him, and that's why I keep saying this, but regardless of who I start, somehow he ends up on the floor at the end of the game. And I just leave him there because, he's not a mistake guy, and he's making plays in a variety of different ways that helps our team.
What does that say about his stamina, the fact that you have a game like against Penn State, he plays the last 12 minutes, and the other night he plays pretty much the rest of the second half, all the first overtime, and then most of that second
Well, with him, he's in great shape, but, he's mentally pretty special. He's an assassin-type mentality. He's going to keep fighting. I think back to the UNI game in particular. I think he played the last 15 minutes of that game, and they run good stuff, and he was battling through screens and getting up on guys, and they shoot the ball really well from 3, and he wasn't giving up any threes. He knows what the game plan is, and he'll effectively execute that.
I guess with a guy, is it unusual for you to have a guy who brings those kind of leadership qualities off the bench and not be maybe one of the team's prominent players?
It's not the norm. No, it's not the norm, but it has happened, and it'll happen again at some point.
For you personally, just in terms of stamina, how you feel you've been able to hold up late in games? Because I know Penn State, you played the last 12 minutes, and then the other night against Wisconsin, it seemed like you were out there pretty much the entire second half in overtime.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like I'm in great shape. Being out there, I want to be out there and be a part of that, and just want to make it make this season special and do what I can.
Get the sense of urgency now as you kind of turn the corner to the last part of the big
Yeah. We all know we got to take care of business. We got to really get after it and stick together. That's the biggest thing. We're doing a good job of that. Is nobody's letting anybody get down. Staying positive. That's really the biggest thing.
What's personally for you though as a senior? Sense of urgency.
I really want to get these games. I want to get to the NCAA tournament. That's the ultimate goal. So, it's just staying with it and really making sure, doing everything I can, and to get it done.
Is that still attainable at this point? And how would you get there if you can get to that goal?
We gotta take care of business at home. That's for sure, and then get a few on the road, and then go to the Big Ten tournament. And there's still a lot of games we played, and if anything, we've shown that we can play with every team in the Big Ten or beat every team in the Big Ten. So the Big Ten tournament's huge. That's a big finish to our season.
It's a long season. We just got to keep fighting. Obviously it's stressful and hard to keep losing the game at the end, down the stretch. I feel like we keep losing the game with 2 minutes to go, turnovers, not getting a rebound, stuff like that. So we got to bounce back and keep working. And, I think our team this year has really shown to, keep fighting and keep improving.
What do you remember about the Northwestern game last year?
probably the shot I missed to win it. But, you know, I think, you know, Northwestern last year was playing a lot of 1-3-1, a lot more than they are this year. They're playing a lot more man this year. But, you know, today in practice we're going to prepare for the 1-3-1 because, you know, they've shown that recently the last couple years and playing it, you know, somewhat this year. We got to get better at that. You know, a lot of their wins this year is when they're struggling, they go to the 1-3-1, and then teams struggle against it. You know, so we got to be prepared for that.
We had chances to close out games and stuff like that. So, you know, we just need to play with more urgency. Just, you know, not have put ourselves in situations where at the end of the game that you know, we give up turnover, stuff like that. So
You mentioned Devin. Have you noticed something different with him here these last few weeks? And is there anything that you've been doing as a teammate to just kind of encourage him?
I mean, Dev's been positive. I mean, there's been nothing that shows that he's been down. Just, you know, I mean, games obviously he's struggling, but I mean that's going to happen. He's our go-to guy, and you know, we look for him to get offensive, you know, points, and you know, he's not down on himself. You know, that's one of the many good things about him, and you know, he's just keep pushing through it. You know, in practice today, yesterday he was you know, he was pushing, and you know, a lot of buckets went doon for him. So hope that carry over in game.
Assuming you guys all think of yourselves as pretty good shooters, I mean, you guys are shooting 42% and 20. What do you think it is? Do you think you have time to rectify that before the season's over?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, we have tons of shooters. I think it's just you know, it's been unlucky and stuff like that. So you know, I think, you know, we're on some games, off some games. So I mean, we just need to be more on than off these, you know, last couple of games.